Do you think they did it alone? Constructed armies and conquered thrones, created promised lands that would outlast the sun, resurrected kingdoms from ash and bone. A family crest is not just a man-made thing. It is also created by generations of women who wield swords through guile and letters. Show me your gods and your kings, and I will show you the goddesses and the queens that taught them, that bred them, that willed them to be better. What is it about a powerful woman-led story and wicked women that enthralls us? What is it about the unruly princess that befriends the dragon and the wicked witch with a redemption arc that makes for such riveting reading and viewing? Is it the radical idea that women characters can be just as nuanced and interesting as male characters? The wild idea that women are people. We hear about Odysseus, war hero of Ithaca, but very rarely do we hear about his wife, Penelope, who through her wiles protected his kingdom, administrated, raised their son, all on her own. We hear about the god king Zeus and his multiple extramarital affairs and his seduction techniques. But very rarely do we hear about Hera in any other way than being churlish and jealous. She is a harder woman, and mythology and history are not in the habit of being kind to harder women. Maybe if I change the lens, show you something a little bit different about her. She finds it difficult to cry. Rage suppresses her emotions. She has traded her girlhood for power. It is easier to be hated than to face not being loved. Easier to be angry than to accept sadness. But we all need to let the pain out somehow. So she takes the souls of the clouds and ties them to her own. Every time Zeus and she fight, the clouds, like her heartache, overflow. Zeus may have been the god of thunder and of lightning, but it was Hera who invented the rain. I think it's really interesting what happens when you change the lens and a woman tells another woman's story. I think perhaps mythology and folklore are creatures of their time. They tell us be good, like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. Be good. In other words, be passive. In other words, be quiet. Do not be too loud. No one needs to hear your voice. And for goodness sakes, don't get crazy ideas about saving yourselves. Leave that to the men. I think in 2019, it is high time we take back our fairy tales. Await no princes to save you, with their lips touching yours whilst you are in unwilling slumber. Meet each other in the womb of your enchanted dreams, Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. Rely on no man to rescue you when you already have everything you need within your body, and your wits are no less than any man. Darkling magic is coursing through those veins. Turn it into kindling, my resourceful girls. Meet each other in the fog realm. Wake each other up instead. And this is the secret. This is the secret that is well known, but at the same time, they do not want us to know. Women will save each other. Women will save themselves. We do it already when we get out there to rescue our friends who have found themselves in bad situations. When we text our friends, please text me when you get back. I'm worried about you. Imagine how powerful we would be if we all just binded together all the time. And I think this is why so much of folklore and mythology has historically pitted women against each other. The evil queen versus Snow White, the evil stepmother versus Cinderella. But I think one of the most tragic occurrences of this is in mythology with the story of Medusa. Medusa is a high priestess for Athena. She is beautiful and she is sacred. Poseidon, brother of Zeus, there's clearly some problems in that family line. Just saying. He finds her and he pursues her. Because she's a high priestess to Athena, she runs into Athena's temple thinking he will not pursue her there, but he finds her and he rapes her. And this is where the story gets strange. Athena, when arriving on the scene, does not punish Poseidon, the instigator of this terrible act. Instead, she punishes Medusa, turns her into a gorgon, a monster, a terrible fate. Or is it? Athena, too, must work within the realm of the ancient Greek patriarchy, and Poseidon is an old god. She is the goddess of reason. And I wonder if what she does to Medusa is an offer of protection. Let's hear what Athena actually says to Medusa. I'll make you a trade, your beauty for stone, sea-beloved tresses for venom-filled snakes, innocent doe eyes for frigid gaze. The sea is in the habit of ravishing what does not belong to him, taking without consideration, but gentle girl, I promise you, I will not let this be your ruin. You are sacred, one of my own, and no cruel chaos will ever devour you again. Choose terror over maiden. Relinquish your human, and I will make you a goddess in your own right, a deity of monsters, a myth to terrify gods and men alike for the centuries and all of their seasons. I think this is the thing about difficult women. If you suddenly turn the story around, you realize that the women that we saw as petty aren't really petty at all. They're just doing the best they could in what they have been given. Society is terrified of difficult women because, according to them, difficult means dangerous. But difficult men are pioneers. It's interesting to see what happens to difficult women in all of mythology. I'm reminded of Adam's first wife, Lilith, who is made from the same thing as him, treats him as an equal, and does not obey him. They send her to hell and turn her into a demon. They literally demonize a woman for disobeying a man. All I've done over the last few years with my work is I have listened. I've listened to difficult women. I have listened to angry women. And all of the female characters in mythology who I create or bring back, I just give them permission. I give them permission to disobey and to be themselves. Because at the end of the day, even if they do a bad thing, they're not a bad person. They're just someone who did a bad thing. I'm going to tell you what I tell them. Sometimes I see them do what they tell us not to. The instructions tattooed in parental ink on our minds are hidden under rebellious spirit for a while. We lather our bodies in war paint, wear goddess instead of girl at our throats. Ignore the salacious tongues that tell us not to be too full and too ferocious. Sometimes I see us rise our spines up to the height and thickness of oak trees. Leave our hair wild. Let ourselves get lost like rivers in forests, just for a little while. Something ancient beckons to us, a haunting we have been taught to ignore because of our fear of the unknown. Sometimes it whispers, you too can bend life at whim like Gaia. You too can write an obituary to the past version of yourself like the goddess Nyx, so why don't you try it for a while? Sometimes I see us unwrap ourselves from mortal and turn primordial, like a magical forest of moly within us has grown. Sometimes I watch girl become goddess, and the metamorphosis is more magnificent than anything I have ever known. Perhaps this is why we love the stories of wicked women so much, because they remind us of ourselves. It reminds us that difficult is not dangerous. When I was a child, I spent so much time hoping that I would be like Snow White and Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella. And the older I got, the more I wanted to be like the Wicked Witch. I'm going to leave you today with the words of the goddess Artemis, the one mythological character that no male poet could tame. This is what she said to me. The night sky is a wolf's mouth tonight, and Artemis, bathed in solitude, is out on her hunt. I meet her by the silver lake and ask her about her alone and if she would ever give it up for love. She laughs and gestures to the exquisite forest behind her and asks, "What about love? I have enough. How can one person compare to such splendor?" I traded my duties for belonging to myself, for this wolf-wild heart was never made to surrender. Thank you.